If you're a parent, you're going to really want to check out today's episode of the Pro Talk podcast, and you're going to benefit because today with us, we have a coach with over 35 years of coaching tennis, not only beginners, but from beginners to intermediate to nationally ranked junior players. Not only is he coached them, he's been a mentor to many of them as well. But before we meet today's guest, make sure you push the subscription button as well as the notification bell so you never miss another episode here on the Pro Talk podcast. As I mentioned, he's got 35 years teaching experience. He's also been the director and owner of the Stefan Diaz Tennis Academy for the past 30 years. Without any further ado, I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Mr. Stefan Diaz. Stefan, how you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Ready for your little questions.
Oh, my little questions. Am I a rookie? I want to find out. Am I a rookie at this?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you play like a pro, sometimes you play like a rookie. I remember the days.
Well, we won't waste the people's time with all that, but
No. Too
yeah,
many funny stories.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I've known you indirectly since the late '80s, when
Hmm.
you played at Auburn and Montgomery, and I played at Berry College, and I was well aware of you and the guys that you played with because you guys were national champs. Was it '87 or '88?
87, we won nationals, correct.
Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
we became teammates here in the tennis league here in the '90s in
Hmm.
Atlanta. I will start off by saying you're a great tennis player. I've played with you. I've played against you. We've worked out together.
Hmm.
And you know, it's interesting when you look at our profession, when somebody comes up to parents and starts talking about what they did as a player, I always tell the parents to run because it really doesn't matter what they did as a player in the past. It has nothing to do with how well they teach. And I know that you never talk about how strong of a player you were, but to me, teaching is transference of knowledge, and that's what the teaching and coaching profession is. I do want to let people know some of your qualifications, though. You were a top junior in Puerto Rico. You were number one singles and doubles at Auburn and Montgomery, national
Yeah,
champion. You were All American singles and doubles, correct?
my senior year. That
Okay.
was my best year. Yes.
You were also number four in the nation in singles.
It's my
Uh,
high.
Puerto Rico, 1992 national champion, Puerto Rico. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the pro level. Yeah, that was
Okay.
the national. Yeah, correct.
That's pretty solid. And
Mhm.
you were also named Player of the Year in 1992, correct?
Player of
Puerto
the
Rico.
year, athlete of the year, Olympic athlete, something like that. Whatever. Athlete of the year. Just little plaques that they give you.
Just a little flack. Huh?
A nice flag, nice flag.
Okay. No parade?
No parade. It was just a personal good feeling to. I only once I was done with college, it was like, let me play some money tournaments here and there. I played a little bit in France for a whole summer. I said, I could go to Puerto Rico and play their whatever nationals they have, and I had a few good friends from Puerto Rico that were doing the same thing. So we just I would go there once a year just to kind of go compete. But by then I was already coaching a lot. I was playing with you at the league stuff, and the coaching got really busy, but I was able to once in a while go over there and maybe train for a few weeks and go play the tournament. So I went over there that year, and there were guys in the top 300 in the world, and I was able to like win the tournament, which is pretty cool. Um, and it was a good feeling. But then you go back to work and go back to coaching, and the more you coach, the worse you get. So it's just how it goes.
We're good with our volleys, then internet.
Yeah. You randomly have your great matches, but overall you lose that consistency because you're not playing all the time.
Yeah.
You when you play all the time, you're just sharp. You don't lose serve. You're just there.
Yeah.
Once you start coaching too much, you start missing silly shots, and you're like, "Come on, man!"
Right.
And then after that, you kind of know you're more of a coach than you are a player. That's all there's to it.
But how many times have people said, "Oh, this is great. You get to go play tennis all day." They think we're out there drilling with people.
I know, I know. Everybody's like, "Man, you must be in great shape." I'm coaching. I'm not running around sharpening my skills. If
Yeah.
anything, I'm helping somebody else. And the funny thing about coaching that I felt like was amazing when I was playing less and less is that when you're coaching, you're focused on other people's strokes and you watch him hit a ball and you watch him hit a ball. But when you're competing, you're focused on yourself and your strategy and how to beat people, right? And then the less that I competed, I remember like coming to the net and watching the guy just hit a nice passing shot. And I'm going like, why am I looking at the guy? Like I'm looking at the guy's beautiful shot and I'm like, I'm watching kids too much play tennis
Yeah.
and you lose that inner instinct of reaction. So I realized this is amazing how I just got stuck watching other people play while I'm playing against them. Where before I would just play my game and just get you. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
you had the same feeling. And I remember it was so annoying because I would catch myself not reacting to shots because of all the coaching that I was doing and just watching them hit a great shot. I'm like, how come I didn't get to that? I usually get to that ball. It's because I'm just watching them play.
Right. Let
And
your
that's when you know you're getting worse. When
Yeah. Your
just
approach
you
shot was a feed.
yeah, and you just your instincts just kind of start getting sloppy.
Yeah.
You get sloppy. You're like half a second late on everything, and you're like, oh, okay, that's how it goes, okay. And then you get older and you get slower. That's the bottom line. But even when I was fairly athletic, I just started watching people play too much
Yeah.
instead of instead of me trying to play better.
Well,
That's that's how it goes.
one of the things I've always respected about you is you kept yourself in great shape. To me, there's nothing worse than, I'll say it, the fat coach who's standing on the sidelines talking about what he used to do and he's out of shape.
Yeah.
You've stayed in great shape. And I think you walk the walk instead of just talk the talk.
Yeah, for me, I've always worked out. I've always have. Sometimes I worked out too much and not play enough. And I feel like sometimes I have to hold back my workouts so I can play better because you get a little stiff, a little not flexible. You lose that speed and flexibility. So I love the gym. I love working out, and I feel that can slow you down too if you don't do the right stuff.
Right.
So I feel like combining those two is always fantastic. And I feel like, I mean, I still work out 4 or 5 times a week, and to me, it's therapy. I go to the gym, and that's my therapy. Pushing myself is therapy.
Hmm.
And it's not about staying healthy. For me, it's just a way of life. I
Right.
feel that's just me. That's just me. Some people like to go gambling. Some people like to do their things, have fun, do all that stuff. I'm not like that way.
Yeah.
I'm very, I keep it simple. I just it's the same with the academy. I kind of keep it to where I never wanted to expand and do other. I wanted to have my own little thing and just be happy and just stay in my little corner and do
Right.
the best I can with it. That was just my mental state,
Yeah.
kind of like that. So
What age did you start playing tennis?
11.
11.
Yeah, yeah. I used to play. Puerto Rico. We grew up with a baseball in our hands and a basketball. So I used to always play outside with my friends, baseball, basketball, lot of street ball every day. So when I was 11, I started working at a tennis center, picking up tennis balls, helping the coaches, running errands. So I would watch a coaches coach, and I was always around the tennis center. And it was a fun little gig, right? Just to with the other kids that were doing the same thing. And then when we had breaks, we started to just try to hit the ball over the net. And I'm like, well, I got good eye-hand coordination. I can hit this ball back. And then I took a couple of the coaches were super cool, super nice. They go, I'll give you a lesson one day and they'll teach me like some basics. And they were like, oh, you can definitely play tennis. Like you can just hit the ball and it was no big deal for me. So the eye hand and I had like a little sports brain. I just love sports. I follow all the Puerto Rican baseball teams, basketball teams. I was into all that stuff. And then tennis, to me, tennis was like I get to run every ball, I get to hit every ball, and it was up to me. And that's the difference. When I was doing team stuff, it was just to have fun with my friends.
Right.
But when it came down to competing, I care about it. It
Mhm.
was like I just wanted to do better, and I wanted to get better, and I always was trying to win. It was always trying to win. So for me, the one-on-one, the individual sport part was like so perfect for me. And then one of the coaches go, "Hey, why don't you go play a tournament, like some novice Mickey Mouse tournament somewhere?" And I remember playing the tournament, and I won it. Like first tournament ever, it was novice. It was, the beginner stuff. And then I went to a, this is a funny story. Then I played an actual regular tournament, not a novice one, and I won my first match, thinking I was all that,
Right.
I'm like, "Man," and then and then I run into the famous moonballer.
Oh boy.
And I remember being up 4-1 and not winning another game.
Oh,
And I came out of there in tears going like, This guy just threw me lob. What kind of sport is this?"
yeah.
And then I realized that I had really good instincts with my hands. So I'm like, I just want to play the net. And at 12 years old, I was already playing the net. And there were matches that I was serving and volleying at 12 with some rinky dinky spinny lefty serve and running into somebody's crummy backhand,
Right.
and and then hitting a decent volley from time to time. And that's how my game developed. It was like, I'm just gonna serve to your backhand. I'm gonna be a lefty to your backhand. Come to the net any chance I get, and just tippy tap my volleys. And I had no problem with speed, so I was good at trying to get the lob and things like that.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 14, I could already handle moonballers and pushers and that kind of stuff that people call. And I had to learn how to play them. So I never had an issue with those people because I would take the net. I wasn't gonna stay back and just rally 20 balls. It just
Right.
wasn't a
Yeah.
thing. And then it just carry on from there. Um I feel the problem that I had was in Puerto Rico, there's not a lot of tournaments and not a lot of people to practice with. So most of my juniors, I didn't play, but like once or twice a week the most. And I would try to sign up for any tournament that was around, once every couple of months. And that was my only opportunity to try to actually show if I could play, right? But I love competing. So when I was under 14s, I was like, got to like number two in Puerto Rico. I started 11, so that's pretty good. And I was already playing guys that were way more experienced, many more years of experience, but I was hanging tough. And, but again, it all came down to the same old, just not a lot of people to play with. And that's why I feel like when I was 17, I just wanted to get out of there. And I was like, I didn't even know that you could play college tennis. That's how clueless I was. My parents don't know tennis. And then one of the coaches at the tennis center said, "Hey, why don't you go play college tennis?" I'm like, I would love that.
Yeah.
He goes, "Okay, I got some friends that coach tennis in the US." And I'm like, cool. I would love that. So at 17, I was like a year ahead in school. So I was already going to college at 17. And I came to Georgia, ironically, and because the person in Puerto Rico he had a condo in Georgia, in actually Marietta, out of all places,
Wow.
Johnson Perry. I mean, that close to my house,
Yeah.
if you believe that. And I went to play some Georgia State Open Championship thing, and I played a kid, some Georgia kid back then that was, I guess top 100 in the nation, maybe something like that, and I beat him pretty good. And then the coach from Clemson came to watch me, the assistant coach. And he saw Servant Volley game. I love your attacking style, blah, blah, blah. Speed, athleticism. And I'm like, that sounds great. So Clemson was two in the nation. And there was a guy from Puerto Rico, Miguel Nito. He was like 110 in the world. And I almost beat him when I was 15. And it was like, I don't know how I got a set from the guy because he was like a top 20 college player. and he just probably never seen a servant volley or a 15 that was gonna do what I did. So I think he had a bad day. So I almost beat him. So he recommended me to Clemson. So you got to check out this young kid, that's got that game, right? And so the Clemson people, they were really good at that year. It was like Jay Berger, Miguel Nito. They had a lot of good players. So I don't know if I would have made top six as a freshman at all because they were that good. But they wanted me. They wanted me for the future. And the problem was that my parents didn't have any money, so it was like I can't come here with a quarter of a scholarship. It's just not gonna work. So I Clemson and then Auburn main campus, and I was too late looking for scholarships because it was already like May and June, and that it was way late. And I'm like, I want to get out of Puerto Rico. I could have stayed one more year and wait because I was still 17, but I said I just want to leave. So I took the first offer of a full ride, and that's when Auburn Montgomery came along and said, "Yeah, we'll give you a full ride." I'm like, "Cool, I'm out of here." And luckily that year there were like four new freshmen, including myself, and a lot of good South African players. So we had a really good team as a freshman. So I was like, wow, I'm playing number 5, and we were number 1 in the nation. So the team was super good, and I'm like number 5, and then I worked my way up all the way my senior year. But I was like just a college kid trying to learn. You know, and it's funny, how you go to college and you're 17, 18, you're playing a 25-year-old, and you're like, my freshman year, I'm like, this guy has a beer.
Yeah.
You know, you know, a man. I was playing it like a man,
Yeah.
and I felt like, "Well, what's going on? I'm just 17." But then I had to grow and get stronger and
Sure.
taller, bigger, and then start saying. By the time I was 19, I would say my body was kind of a little more developed, and I was able to play the bigger boys. I guess by 19.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit like winning at 5 was not hard. But if I had to play like a tournament and play a guy, I was like highly ranked, more manly, I was like, I'm just getting pushed around,
Right.
which I didn't feel like that in juniors, but in college,
Yeah.
I felt pushed around a little bit. And then, like I said, by the time I was 19, 20, I was like, hey, I can play anybody now. I was bigger, stronger, faster, taller, blah, blah, blah. And it was good. It was good, but it was a good experience. It was a good experience. So.
So growing up in Puerto Rico, did you have any influential coaches or mentors that put you on your path?
Never had a coach. Never had a coach. There were coaches in the tennis center that will always say nice things to me and may give me like little bit of advice on doing stuff. But I give most credit to the kids that were older than me. They were like, when I was 11 and 12, there were kids that were 15 and 16. So those kids already knew how to play tennis way, way more. So those guys will help me with basic stuff, the young kids, and they'll hit with me. And they all do this instead of this because they've been playing tournaments and I'm just a complete rookie. And so I give them most of the credit, and they will take me under their wing and say, "Oh, you're gonna be really good. You're gonna be really good. Just hang out with me. Let's go play. Let's go play."
Wow.
So I had older kids that were actually more of a mentor than anybody that was a adult coach you know. But there were some good coaches that will give me random good advice
Yeah.
and stuff. But never had a coach. I never had somebody say, um, you gotta get ready this way, or you gotta be ready for this, or you have to be looking out for these type of styles. This guy plays like this, you should be doing this. Never. I just went out there and I just played tennis. I did the same thing every match. Serve, try to come to the net. Never had I don't remember having a plan B
Okay.
ever. Ever. My plan A was come in and attack, pass me if you can. Let's see how it goes.
Right.
And sometimes I disrupted a lot of people's rhythm because of that style.
Hmm.
And other times when I played somebody that was really good at returns or passing shots or tossing lobs, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So maybe that was the end of me, right?
Hmm.
Because I didn't have a plan B. So And then in college, I say our coach didn't know any tennis, to be honest. He didn't know anything about coaching. So I learned from my teammates more, good players, good
Yeah.
teammates, good players. So I learned more from my teammates than I learned from any coach ever.
Yeah.
You had somebody that give me any kind of, or they all say, "Oh yeah, you're good, you're talented. Keep playing, keep pushing hard. Yeah, you look like you love it." They give you that type of pump up,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "Cool, I'll just keep playing.
Yeah.
That's it." They say, "Oh, you got a great serve," and I say, "Cool, thanks. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it."
I knew that. Yeah.
You know, I kind of knew that. I
Yeah.
just keep attacking. The guys got no backhand. Just attacking. Okay, cool. I'll do
I
that.
knew that
Whatever.
too. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that all along. So there was no true mentor, no true mentor. Just good people that helped me from time to time, but that was it.
So it
You
sounds
know.
like I think I know what helps me teach is that tennis was a struggle, and I started at 13, so I'm with you starting late, but you had the skill set so that you became curious about how your game progressed, which helps you teach. Do you find that to be the case?
For sure. I think the biggest thing that I can say is I was always learning how to be better tactically, right? And I realized after college I need to do different things better. I had a variety of, I could, me, I can slice. I have a lot of variety in my game. So I use that variation to for myself my whole life. When I stayed back, I wasn't a grinder, but I could change the ball. I could go slice, heavy ball. I wasn't like a power player at all. I was a power player coming into the net with big serves and come in. But from the back, I was never like ripping balls with great ground strokes. Never. If anything, I would probably, you hit big, I'll just slice you. I see if you leave it short, then I'll come in. It was more of a field game from the
Mhm.
baseline than a power game. So when I first started the academy and I was successful immediately coaching little kids and getting them to be state southern champions. And it's because I didn't know I needed to know much about technique at the beginning. I feel I was more of a tactical competitive coach. So competition, let's do this, let's do that, let's be ready. I was better at all that stuff. And I think at the beginning, because of my having to figure things out all by myself, right? It was me figuring out how can I beat people. My whole mentality was how do we beat that dude? How do we beat that girl? So all my kids really bought into the philosophy of learning variation in their game. And my best players at the beginning, I taught them how to slice, how to attack the net, how to like hit a heavy ball, how to break the rhythm of the opponent. And I taught them to be more creative. And because I wasn't like a super technical coach, I kind of did like basic stuff. There were little things that I needed to become better as a coach. I feel like over the years, I've learned so much more about, you know, technique, the modern forehand, and little differences, ways to teach kids to try
Mhm.
to get them to develop a forehand or a backhand that may work for them because everybody's different.
Mhm.
But at the beginning, it was more about tactics and toughness and competitive. And I had some kids that were pretty good and tough. And I started them when they were 8, 9 years old and they went all the way to 18. They went to D1 schools and stuff like that. And I felt like I had to learn a lot as a coach, even on my first 5, 6 years of academy. And the other part that I think that I didn't know what anybody else was doing. I was just doing my own thing. I could care less what anybody else was doing. So a lot of my kids were competing against other kids, and these other kids went to these, I say, bigger academies or spend a lot, 3 times the money on trying to be good. And my kids would barely see me but like 4 or 5 hours a week, and that was it. They weren't doing like 4 hours a day homeschool, none of that. And a single kid homeschool. Everybody was simply just after school tennis, but they were good. They were good
Mhm.
players, and we would travel to tournaments, and I was there for them quite a bit. So I did a lot of traveling at the beginning. a lot of traveling. I would say 3/4 of my academy, there was a lot of traveling all the years. But I think as a coach, I had to keep learning, keep educating myself. Um, when you're a guy, you're aggressive, competitive. You got to realize as a coach, how do you coach girls? How do you handle girls compared to boys, right?
Hmm.
And then I was really good with little kids. I say instinctively, like I just had a nice personality with little kids, and we have fun. And my worst rookie, Mickey Mouse, and they like all that stuff, and Poppy Chow, and I just told the kids all that stuff, and they thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
So teaching little kids to me and developing them um, was just fun. And then I realized I want to keep doing this. I want to keep developing kids. And ironically, the academy only happened by sort of coincidence. I was coaching junior alto teams at the beginning, alto ladies, alto kid, like most people do. And I had these teams, and there were a few good kids in those USTA teams with really nice parents. And I told the parents, hey, these kids don't need to be doing this Mickey Mouse stuff. They need to like play more tennis. And these kids used to play different sports, baseball, tennis. You
Right.
know how these little kids play different sports, so they were good little athletes. I'm like, let's just start doing this, and you guys come with me, and we'll just like 4 or 5 kids, let's just start playing. And these kids got good quickly. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? So then I started at Terra Mill, ironically. My first 2 years were at Terra Mill. And I started growing really fast, really fast. A lot of good kids, and kids came to me to learn, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I was only 28 years old, 28, 29. That age, I started the academy at 28. And at Terra Mill, they didn't, they offered me the whole tennis center to run the whole thing, but, they didn't offer me more courts for kids. I'm like, I can't be doing everything else, and then you only giving me two courts to coach kids. I need more courts. I'm growing, and now I can't do that county stuff, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. I can't stay here because I have a bunch of kids that want to get better. And I was ironically at that time I was living at this apartment complex that has 6 courts
Yeah.
over there by the loop, the
Yeah.
120. And it was really nice place at the beginning. So I had 6 courts, and I'm like, I'm just gonna run my academy out of my own apartment complex, if anybody can believe that. And I just started doing the stuff there, and people will come to the academy, and they'll come to the apartment complex, hardly any parking, just drop off your kid and see you later and stuff.
Hmm.
And I grew it up. I grew that place up to 60 kids in an apartment complex. Let's just say nobody's coming in there to introduce their kids to tennis. It's not like going to a club, right? The kids, it was all word of mouth. It wasn't like somebody will come to a tennis center, hey, my kid wants to learn how to play tennis. None of that. It was all word of mouth. And my kids were absolutely doing amazing. I mean, state-wise, southern-wise. And I realized that I had a lot of great competitive players, but I didn't have a lot of bottom players coming up unless it was somebody's little brother or little sister, like they knew like word of mouth. Um, so the apartment complex started going downhill, if you know what I mean. And the wrong crowd started like moving in, right? And I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. So that's when the guy from Harrison, Tennessee offered me to bring my academy there. And that was like literally 10 like 9 years later. Um, so I brought it to Harrison, and there was nothing going on there that was exciting, to be honest. So I come in and started running the whole junior program, and the guy was like, amazing. Like you bringing people that there's no tomorrow. And, I was able to bring the majority of the 60 kids that I had. I brought like 40. which is great considering, you know, how people, it was further away, so not everybody can make it all the way to a new location. So out of 60, I brought like 40, which is really good. Um, and you know, there's other academies near us. There was UTA, there was Old Town, there was other people, and I'm just like this little guy here teaching in courts, but I was doing my thing. All the respect to the other places, of course. Um, but then I've grown. They gave me more courts. I was able to grow it to over 100 kids, kind of thing. And I've been there the last 19 years.
That's
And
amazing.
how?
I've seen it grow. And
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
when you were starting out on rainy days, back when we were both single, I remember going to Johnny's Pizza. We'd always call each
Shut it.
other. It's raining. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We go get a large veggie pizza and a pitcher of Killian's Red.
That's great.
And I remember
You
you talking about, I'm wanting to do this elite tennis academy. That's the way it started
elite.
out.
Yes,
And then
yes,
I've seen it grow. And I teach a ton of kids. And a lot of
yeah,
my kids are more the novice beginner, and
yeah,
just this is their activity. And when I've had kids getting really serious and wanting to play tournaments, I've sent them to you and you assess them and so forth. And
yep.
and part of this is that I remember about 3 years ago, I think it was David Drew, you
Mhm.
and myself were standing around talking about what we see in kids. And kids, the question that came out that we all scratched our heads and didn't have an answer to is, how do we make kids tougher?
Tougher, yeah,
And
yeah.
give us your opinion on what you see kids today versus, let's just say, 15, 20 years ago.
Uh, Definitely. I think obviously, as you already know, technology has changed things a lot, and kids are obviously not outside as often, stuck to screens a lot, you know, all that stuff. So they become, I think, softer from not being outside. I mean, we used to what? Scratch our knees, falling off bicycles, climbing trees, playing ball outside. It was part of the growth, right? And then you're developing your motor skills all day long, just all day outside. Motor skills,
Right.
hand, you know, feet, the whole scene. And I think with kids, they seem soft because I think they're not developing these motor skills. And also I think that at some point also they're too comfortable. They're not being uncomfortable and challenged in life as a young kid, you know? And I think that makes them kind of soft. I think that the percentage of players that are tougher and more athletic was probably higher back then because most people were playing outside and things like that. Where here today, you see that too, but it's just a smaller percentage maybe. And every time you see a kid, like when I evaluate a kid, right? And I see a kid, whether it's at a summer camp or anybody that just shows up, you know, I'm looking at, do they look at me in the eye, right? Do they listen? Their eye-hand coordination. Can they run? Do they want to run? Do they want to be outside? Some are like, it's too hot. I'm like, you're already telling me it's too hot. It's not even that hot at all. And
Right.
you're already telling me it's too hot. That's what I mean by sometimes they're soft, right? You get into summertime when it's hot, and these kids are like no stamina at all from not being outside enough. And I remember in Puerto Rico, it's super hot. So you're always outside. You got automatic stamina. Your built-in stamina from being outside. And when you get a hot Georgia summer here, and you're like, you guys are really out of shape. It's incredible that as little kids, you guys are so incredibly out of shape. And that's part of the being soft part, right? Because they're just not outside being challenged. They're not uncomfortable. They're not trying to figure things out like little kids used to, in a way, right? With their friends, you know? Um, and I think that makes them a little softer. And then the other part to me is about, I feel like kids these days, they don't go outside and practice unless it's an organized practice. Where back then, we just find a ball and go play. Anything, tennis, baseball, basketball, just get a ball. Let's play. Let's play. We just find our own games to play, right? And these days, I feel like these kids are not, you have technology, which is easier to communicate. and they couldn't find a kid to call to practice. Oh, my kid cannot today. My kid cannot tomorrow. I'm like, you guys got to find people to play with on your own. You know, we don't have to spend all this money in organized practices all the time. So I try to tell my parents of my kids that we don't have to spend a lot of money to be a good player. If you do it the old school way, you can spend a lot less money. And I feel like, yeah, you can be with me 4 or 5 times a week, but what happens the rest of the, 4 or 5 hours a week, but what
Right.
happens the rest of the week? I get kids that I'm like, when's the last time you played? Oh, last time I saw you, coach. And I'm just going like, wow. In my head, I'm going, wow. Everything that I taught you last week, everything we worked on, you haven't practiced any of it, which tells me I'm going to have to start from scratch again. And your parents are paying for this, you know? And I said, that's sad because I want you to get out there either with friends or a ball machine or find some way to practice the things that we've been trying to work on. So I feel like back then kids will do more of that. And today it's like getting the kids to practice on their own is very difficult. And that's to me, that's part of also being soft because you're not out there trying to figure things out. You want everything to be handed to you. And I feel like too many kids are like that, you know? Um, and now you're dealing with parents that also may have used too much technology because, it's been 20, 25 years later.
Yeah.
Where back then, when the phones first came out and you're just barely even texting, there was no such thing as a smartphone. The parents never had a cell phone. So the parents were old school. Now the parents are very technologically advanced. And I feel like the kids are kind of like that too,
Yeah.
which is totally understandable, you know. But just to get them out there and work harder and toughen up. So I never thought that as a coach at the beginning. I don't remember spending so much time being like a sports psychologist to these kids. I feel like it was let's get on the court and work. Let's just hit a ball and work. Let's figure this out on the court, which is what I love to do anyway. But I feel like as the years went by, I was spending more time trying to get these kids to be a little mentally tougher, getting more prepared and telling that, it's okay to lose. It's okay to fail.
Right. Right.
It's a failure, so an opportunity to keep growing, keep learning, right? Learn from your mistakes, blah, 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 blah. We can go on and on about that. Back then it was like the kids will miss and they'll suck it up. Yeah, I missed. Let's go. Let's do it again. Now is you have to give them this explanation of why it's not such a big deal to miss and fail. Like you
Right.
got to work hard. So I feel like that's another part that I have to keep getting. I have to learn to get better at because the kids needed more of that too. You know, it wasn't like let's get dirty and just get better and work hard. Now it's like everything has like no explanation for everything.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
no, I feel like also kids. I remember kids from back then. They were more engaged, not as distracted. Huge, right? And I remember kids playing tournaments and saying, Coach, I had you in my brain. Every time I play, I remember what you were always telling me. And I kept telling myself this, all the positive talk and the things that you tell yourself. And kids used to say that to me. And the mom, they were like, Stefan, little Jennifer was telling me that she was thinking about what you told her in the middle of the match, and she just went out there and took care of business. And I'm like, wow.
That's
I was
great.
like, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I don't hear that. It's like I have to keep asking questions to these kids, like, what happened? What happened? And they never say, oh, I remember we talked about this and work about this. I'm like, dude, you're forgetting things too quickly. You do we need a notebook to write things down? Need that?
Yeah.
I don't remember ever coaching and telling a kid that they need a notebook to write stuff. Ever. It was like, you gotta remember what I tell you and we gotta practice it until it sinks in.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little more instinctive to you.
Yeah.
You have to tell a kid, hey, if you don't remember something, feel free to get a notebook and write it down.
Hmm.
I would love for you to remember without you having to write anything down because that shows me that you're very focused and that you are very coachable and very smart, right? But if you need a notebook, get a notebook. If you need to look at something to look at all the time before you get ready for a tournament or play or whatever, good for you. Whatever works for you, that's fine.
Hmm.
But I feel like back then we didn't need any of that at all.
Yeah.
We just talk, remember, and go out there and try to compete and see how it goes.
It seems like we've created so many programs in all these sports
For sure.
to where kids they're waiting for it to be structured to where when we were kids, we'd come home, oh, call my buddy Stefan, let's go hit. And next thing you know, we're playing. It's like we learned how to play and get better.
Yeah.
Now kids are waiting to be taught. I have a couple of questions about parenting that when should a parent give input when the little kid loses a match, or it could be a big kid? How soon should parents give the input about what
I
they saw?
think that's a great question because that question's been asked to a lot of coaches that I've seen like people talk and stuff. And I feel like the parents should be there for emotional support, financial support, and making the kid feel good, right? Um, I used to tell my students, I said, look, when my kids went to the soccer field, I would say, I want you to go have fun, but I want you to listen to the coaches and I want you to work as hard as you can. Those three things. That's all I said. That's all I asked my own kids. And then when they finish practice, I'll ask them the same thing. Did you have fun? Did you listen to the coaches? And did you work hard? And that was the end of the conversation. And if they wanted to talk to me about something that happened on the field, I'm like, sure, I'm listening to you. I want to listen to you. And I'm not a soccer coach, so I can only listen. But my point is I feel like I tell my parents of tennis players, I said, look, stay positive with your child. He's just learning. You know how you always think about as a coach, you go, when a parent's tough on their kid, I always ask myself, how were you when you were 12?
Hmm.
The parent. You probably were clueless too, just like your kid. But now you're a wisdom older person and you tell your kid like you know everything. But think about you when you were 12. So I always think like, dude, we're all clueless, right? So my own kids, I'll be like, hey, when I was your age, I was clueless too. I just wanted to have fun and play and learn, right?
Yeah.
I was clueless. I'm not gonna come out here and tell you like I know everything. And
Right.
when I was 12, I knew nothing. So my advice has to be very positive. So I'll probably tell a parent if a kid loses a match, a really tough match or whatever, let him vent it out. Let him like just leave him alone. Don't talk to it about it. You can even wait 24 hours to 2 days, whatever. Just don't just the kid will eventually bring it up. If the kid wants you to listen to him, he'll say, Dad, I can't believe I did this in that match. I can't believe I lost that match. And
Hmm.
and you let the kid just kind of vent it out and
Hmm.
deal with it.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing to me is if a kid loses a match, that the parent just kind of moves forward and acts proud. Hey, I love your effort. Are you hungry? Let's go get some lunch.
Yeah.
And don't bring the tennis part at all.
Right. That's
And
great.
said just yeah, and said just let's go have lunch. But again, let's go have lunch because you have another match in 2 hours. So we, make sure that you at least we're ready for that.
Right.
Instead of talking about the last match, let's focus on the next match. So it's good to have a next point, next match mentality, next whatever, because that's going to be more important. And then what happened is just a learning experience. So if the kid wants to talk about that learning experience with the dad or the mom, then they can like say, "Hey, mom, dad, what do you think I did wrong?"
Yeah.
Maybe the kid will ask the dad, "What do you think I did wrong?" And maybe the dad goes, well, maybe you could have hit to their back a little more. Something simple like that.
Hmm.
If the parent knows tennis, I don't know if they don't know tennis. But because my parents never knew tennis, Never had any issues with sports at all.
Mhm.
You know, my dad never saw me play till I won the nationals
Really?
in '92. Never watched me play once in my life.
Picked a good time to watch you play.
No, he watched me play because it was on TV,
That's okay.
not
Uh,
in person.
whoa,
He never watched me play in person.
really?
My whole never,
Wow.
never. Yeah, never. Yeah. He was proud that I won the nationals.
Yeah. You got to play on bigger stages so it could come on.
And he gave me a beer. He was like, "Son, I'm so proud of you. Here's a beer." And
Uh,
that was
uh,
that was it, man.
uh,
That was my celebration.
speaking of fathers, I like Wayne Bryant, the Bryant brothers' dad. He said after
Yeah,
the match, you should tell the kids, ask the kids, Mexican, Italian, American. You want Gatorade or water, and then are you driving or am I driving home? And I used to pull out with my son when he played Little League. He'd go, "Shut up, Dad. I know you're driving." So
that's
I know you
funny.
got to wrap up quickly. I got a couple questions about the format. Are you a fan of playing three full sets or playing a 10-point tiebreaker in lieu of the third set?
That's to me, that's massive. I honestly think that I know how it goes with the tournaments. They want to make money. They want to pack in as many matches as they can, get as many kids as they can, so they shorten all the matches and
Yeah.
give it 2 sets in the breaker. I feel like I don't know if you remember this, but at least at the beginning of my academy, and I was taking kids to tournament, it was 2 out of 3 sets.
Hmm.
It was 2 out of 3. And then the consolation, they'll do 2 sets in a breaker, but it's only because they were playing 3 matches a day.
Right.
So that was understandable. I say, yeah, okay, if you're getting consolation and you're gonna have to wait for people to the main draw to drop, play somebody in the consi, wait for somebody to drop from the main draw that lost that next day, you end up playing 3 matches in one day. So that was okay to do 2 sets in the breaker. But main draw was always 2 out of 3.
Right.
And I feel like it was to me, it was easier to coach, a lot easier to coach 2 out of 3 because you know how tiebreakers are. They can go either way.
Right.
It's just it's a toss up. You know, I can beat you. I can beat you. You can beat me 7-6. I beat you 6-0, and I look like the better player by far. And then I lose a breaker, and I
Right.
lose.
Yeah.
When I know if I would have gone to a third set,
Yeah.
I would have probably finished you off, right? So
Yeah.
you see a lot of that in juniors, and I feel like that's a lot of pressure for the kids and stuff to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot more wins and losses because you can win and lose more in those crazy breakers. I know kids that can go 10 matches without winning a tiebreaker. Like they've lost all 10.
Yeah. And they feel like losers, but it's not a clear indicator who's better.
They're this close, this close of winning those matches, right? This close, and they lost them all because they don't know how to handle that situation very well at the age of 11, 12, and
Sure.
13. They just have no clue. And I don't blame them. I said, yeah, you know, you're probably a little bit tight and you can even coach them after the 2 sets. Give them 3 little things. I just want you to do these 3 little things if you can. And they're so tight that they can't even win that breaker.
Hmm.
But if they had a third set,
Yeah.
and I would have given those 3 things,
Yeah.
they probably would have won the set.
I've always been a fan of, if you're talking about time, because I don't like the logic of two sets in a tiebreaker because you
Yeah.
cannot measure deuce. We could go to deuce forever, and that
Mhm.
tiebreaker really doesn't speed things up. But no ad scoring. We played that in college, playing NCAA players, and that is so intense. But the traditionalists will say, no, you got to win by 2 points in a row. So, are you a fan of no ad scoring? I'd rather play
Well,
a third set no ad than a tiebreaker.
it's funny you say that because NAIA, we play full sets and with that.
Right.
So when we play like Florida State, we play the D1 schools. If we play them on their site, we had to play no ad,
Right.
which I've never played in my life. Never. And I remember very well playing my first no ad match against Auburn main campus. And I'm literally winning every set. And I kept losing every no ad point. And I remember losing in 3 sets against a dude. And I'm just going like, I was so much better than him. And I lost 7 out of 8 no ad points.
Right.
But I tortured him in all the other games. it was weird. It was the weirdest feeling not to be used to playing no ad. So it took me a little while to like adapt to no ad scoring my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, every time we play those D1 schools on their site, I'm like, okay, I know what to expect. I know what to do with this no ad stuff.
Right.
But I say, I'm a fan of, I'm old school. I'm a fan of ad 3 sets.
Sure.
Let's stay out there for 3-4 hours because I
Character.
want, well, not only that, I want, it's a test of your mind and your physicality, without a doubt, right? These 2 sets and a breaker, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Right.
You know, I don't see it. It's not a factor. I remember matches where my kids, you could tell they wouldn't last all 3 sets. I'm like, hey, you got to get in shape, you know, whatever. And other kids that have better stamina than they did, I'm like, good for them. They were more fit than you were. So they beat you. So what does that mean? You got to get physically tougher. And what happens when you're physically tougher? That helps your mind too, because you know you can last forever. You know, hey, I can be here for 4 hours, right? So that gives you like that edge, right? So I feel like the 2 out of 3 will build the kids to be tougher. And part of the reason I think that things are also a little bit softer is because they're not used to playing, you know, the
Sure.
long match.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at, I grew up in Puerto Rico, boxing is very big. So I grew up watching a lot of boxing. And I remember people saying, even when I was a little kid, watching all these fights, and people will go, these guys train 20 rounds for a 10-round fight. You know how crazy that is? That you have to fight for 20 rounds to be ready for a 10-round fight. That's like me telling you, hey Rob, let's do 3 out of 5 to get ready for 2 out of 3. Let's practice 3 out of 5.
Right.
That's gonna make it tougher. I know it will, right? 2 out of 3 is gonna be Mickey Mouse if we do 3 out of 5 in practice, right? So I think that's important. I think make the kids play more matches longer. And that's another thing about kid. You know how you said earlier, like, hey, we used to grab some balls, hit some balls, and we always play a game. Let's go play to 11 or let's play a set. We always play a set, right? Just out of being competitive. And these days, I feel kids don't want to like compete sets in practice as much. You know what I'm saying?
Attention span's too short.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I would do match play. I would do match play at the academy with the kids randomly. And the kids are like, Coach, I'm done with the first set. I'm like, no, you're playing 2 out of 3 today. Wow, what do you mean? I don't play anybody else. No, you play the same guy you're playing 2 out of 3.
They're
And
bored.
let me coach.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately they get sometimes too social and they don't compete like hard because they're buddies. But I feel like that I think that's a big part to me, that you know, you're trying to teach your kids how to hit better shots and how to do things better from these situations and stuff. And they're good players and good students, but they have to learn to figure out on their own.
Yeah.
They need to be put in those moments and say, okay, 4 all, 30 all. Where do I need to serve? Where should I go now?
Yeah.
You know, and let's play set starting at love 30 and let's see how we fight.
Right.
Oh, but coach, that's not
That's hard.
fair.
Yeah.
Not fair. That's probably the hardest thing to do, is to play games
Yeah.
love 30 down.
Yeah.
But it teaches you that resilience of fighting back.
Yeah.
Okay, now how about let's start the set normal and you have that mentality. You see?
Yep.
So, you know, those little things can help anybody if they really want to be good,
Yep.
I think.
I think,
But
nobody
you
learns
know,
through easy, and any
yeah,
sport.
you got to make them uncomfortable.
Right.
You got to make the kids uncomfortable and see how that goes. And some kids, the more you watch them, like I've coached a couple of guys, a couple of people that made the tour. You know, I've coached Hunter Reese and McCartney Kessler, that's on the tour now. And when I used to watch those guys in juniors, they had a different mentality. You could tell. You could tell the way everybody competed and the way they competed. I could tell that they needed to keep working hard and playing, because they had that mentality of almost like refuse to lose attitude.
Right.
That is very rare.
Sure.
You know, I have this refuse to lose attitude. If I lose, I lose, but I'm still gonna have that refuse to lose
Yeah.
attitude. And I feel like it's very unique to see that in a kid.
Yeah.
Because now you see a kid that when things get difficult, when adversity hits, they fold.
Yeah.
And these kids were the complete opposite. They were
Interesting.
total fighters, and they were the kind of kids that will try to figure it out. So I had a ton of those kids like that, but I
Yeah.
also had the other one too, the one that will fold. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, learn from the other kids. Look at these kids. Look at this other kid that you're training with. Look at how they manage the situation.
Right.
But you're always finding excuses, and you have just as much ability as they do. But look how they are mentally,
Yeah.
and that's why you can't get better when it comes to the level that you're trying to
Right.
achieve. So you're stuck at this level because you got to change your ways a little bit.
Mhm.
Not that easy. Not that easy.
Well, it's all
Very
part
hard.
of it. And that's why
Yeah.
you're good because you challenge kids. I got 4 short questions for you
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
know we both have to get out in the court. Who's
Yeah.
your all-time favorite athlete? Any sport?
Oh, any sport. Well, I never pay much attention to like a bunch of other sports and athletes, but I can say tennis, Boris Becker.
Really? Okay.
Oh, of course, I love Boris Becker.
Boom, boom, Becker, baby.
Maybe diving at the net, the diving.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
yeah, I love Boris Becker. So I say tennis wise, Boris Becker, and I cannot answer the other one, but I will have to think about that.
Okay.
If you go to like other
All
sports and
right.
whatever,
You get back to
people
me.
people say Michael Jordan and stuff like that, and those guys were amazing. But I don't know. I really don't know
That's all
because
right.
I
Who's your
emphasize
all-time favorite sports team? Here, I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
the Steelers. They stink, but I love my Steelers.
Ah! They got some
Oh
hope.
my
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I love watching American football. I
uh,
am everybody's like I wear my Steelers hats all the time, just didn't want to bring it today and make you feel bad. But everybody's like, "Are you from Pittsburgh?" And I'm like, "Do I have to be?"
yeah,
No, do I? I'm from Puerto Rico. We don't have a team in Puerto Rico,
yeah.
so I gotta pick somebody. And I was an anti Dallas Cowboys fan, so of course I was gonna be a Steelers
Okay,
fan too.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. All
Oh
right.
yeah, sure, for
Who's
sure.
who's the best tennis player you've ever played against?
Against, uh, I played, I played that probably that Miguel Nito guy. I played him when he was 110 in the world, and I got 6 games.
Wow.
He tortured me pretty good,
Yeah.
but he was one him, and he got to the third round of the U.S. Open, and I played him the very next year, so he was still ranked
Pretty
high.
good, huh?
And he just, it's funny because I went in there, did my thing, and I already had some decent wins after college, so it's not like I was playing pretty damn good, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he just like didn't miss a ball, compared to the level that I brought, right? Um, and and remember when he pinned me at the baseline, I couldn't come in. He kept it so deep and it was so accurate, and I couldn't come in. So I would only come in when I was serving and volleying. So if I hit a big first serve, I was fine. But if I have to rely only on my second serve with somebody with those kind of returns and ground strokes, I saw the level of, he was probably at that time probably 2 levels above me. I would think being third round US Open, 110 in the world. So I felt like in a court that was definitely like I felt the level,
Yeah.
that was pretty high.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was it. I play a lot of guys in the top 300, but I felt like he was definitely the one that was the sharpest.
Okay.
Because at that moment, he was kicking butt. He was
Right.
doing really, So I would say that guy. And obviously in college, I played some good guys, and I know guys that um made a top 200 that I played in college. And I had some either a close loss or like maybe barely beat him, but
Yeah.
who cares, right? That's all in the past.
Yeah.
Uh, that's just one good
Yeah.
day. So that was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question.
Last question. What's your favorite book?
Book. Great question. I've read a lot of different books, but I remember it's weird because you know that Inner Game of Tennis was kind of like an interesting book back then,
Tim
and
Galway.
it makes you think. Yeah, it makes you think. Yeah, you're like, well, what is this Inner Game of Tennis? And when I read books, it's kind of weird because Spanish is my first language, so when I read in English, it was always weird to me to try to understand things.
Okay.
Um, but I like I like to keep educating myself. I cannot say I have like one book that I say, oh, that's just the best book I've ever read. I don't read a lot of books to start off with, but I do like to educate myself with different books and stuff like that. So mostly tennis books I read, or maybe I've read some about like just sports psychology books just to read about different stuff.
Right.
But I don't know any authors or even names of books. I just read them and kind of go because I was more of a magazine article type reader.
Right. Get bullet points.
Yeah, not a book reader, So
Well, I'll let you run. I know
you
you've got to get on.
what
What's that?
what's your favorite book?
You know what? I don't know if I have a favorite. I love actually Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's awesome. I
Okay.
think it's great.
Okay.
I'm reading a book
Okay.
now called Do Hard Things. It's awesome.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and,
And I've looked about other things that are not sports,
yeah,
that are about mentally tougher or whatever.
yeah,
And those were all right, but I don't get into books that
yeah,
much. You see my
yeah,
point?
yeah.
Definitely.
I do.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
Stefan Diaz, check him out if you're in the Atlantic tennis area. If you're in any area of the country, check him out. Maybe move to the ATL. But again, I appreciate your time, big man. And
All right, man.
anytime we talk, it's always great. So,
Always my pleasure.
so,
Let me get a bite to eat and head to the
all
courts.
right. So, till next time, make the most of
I'll
your
see.
time. Thanks.
Absolutely, buddy. All right, all right. Go Steelers.